First of all, thank you for your time. We wanted to discuss the peace process between Turkey and the Kurds. And over the past years, we have seen renewed efforts towards peace between the Turkish state and the Kurds. These include right now a PKK ceasefire, the establishment of a commission in the parliament, discussion on constitutional reform, and the release of some long-term political prisoners. At the same time, Turkey experienced a major peace process in 2013, also involving dialogue with Abdullah Öcalan. Yes, it collapsed violently in 2015. From your perspective, how is the current peace process different from the one in 2013? And what, if anything, gives you the confidence that it will not break down in the same way? Thank you.
Well, first and foremost, thank you very much for having me. It is, of course, an important issue to address to ensure that Turkey becomes peaceful and also paves the way for a truly democratic and inclusive Turkey. And the peace processes, of course, is always important to ensure that those sides that it concerns are involved and are talking to each other to find common solution on the problems that exists. As you rightly said, there has been previous attempts, and there is one right now also. To be honest, I'm a bit worried that the current one might also fail due to the lack of interest to take concrete actions from the side of the AKP government. If we look at the PKK kept to the promise that they had to dismantle, and that was decided on their Congress, and they started the dismantling process. But of course, in order for a peace process or peace negotiations to get further, all sides needs to take their share of responsibility. And yet again, Erdogan doesn't seem to be truly interested in taking steps forward.
Yes, and as you're noting right now, obviously this has had some impacts on public opinion, and the opinion is a bit separated. On one hand, some see it as an opportunity for broader democratic shift in Turkey and linked to constitutional reform, a possible recognition of equal citizenship and of Kurdish political and cultural rights. But on the other hand, many argue that the process risks strengthening authoritarianism rule in Turkey, for changing a strategic move by the president to securing internal and regional balance while reducing internal opposition. So how do you respond then to these competing interpretations? Do you believe this process can generally advance democratization, therefore, or, as you were saying, backfire?
If we just look a bit back in history, not necessarily many years, but a couple of years, the previous governments, say it AKP, say it CHP, other governments had truly failed to ensure to address the issue of inclusiveness, to ensure that Turkey becomes truly democratic, that all the people, the Kurdish, the Christian minorities, as Armenian, Assyrians, and everybody are actually a part of the society in the sense of having their languages recognized, their culture recognized, etc. And due to the historical failures, the situation has, of course, also continued to escalate. A couple of years ago, the immunity of some of the MPs was on the table in Turkey. And then I say some, it's members of the Turkish parliament who belonged to the pro-Kurdish party. Also their former party leader, Selahattin Demirtas. CHP was among those who voted in favor of lifting the immunity of those members. The same process that they said yes is now being used against CHP. So it is sad to see that some actually unfortunately have contributed to the current development, because if everybody, the opposition that doesn't belong to the pro-Kurdish party, DEM party, today they are named, if they stuck to really embrace the democratic principles and the rule of law, and not lifted the immunity of the pro-Kurdish party back then, or their leaders. Today, the same tool couldn't have been used against them. So what I want to say is that I really think that it is important that democratic forces keep together, but that also needs to be done through not throwing each other under the bus when one can gain on it. The Kurdish population have for decades and decades and decades been giving and trusting AKP, CHP and other governments, but never really got anything back. And of course, hope, where there is hope, you turn to where there is hope. And that's why I believe that the DEM party is trying, and PKK also are trying to see, okay, is it really possible to negotiate an inclusiveness? And with an inclusive Turkey, I believe must also come a democratic Turkey. So I think that these different perspectives are perspectives that are taken into account. But the opposition, the whole opposition, needs to learn from history.
Okay, thank you. And then, so what would you say are some concrete steps Turkey should do for you to believe in this peace process and make it credible and durable?
I mean, first and foremost, they need to look over the constitution, and the constitution needs to change so that it's not only one people, one culture, one flag, etc., but there are different ethnicities in the country. There are Turks, yes, there are Kurds, there are Armenians, there are Syrians, and many other groups. And of course, the minorities needs to be recognized. In all fully fledged democracies, there is one important principle, that is the protection of minorities. Today, there is no protection of minorities. In Turkey, rather opposite, the oppression of minorities.
And do you think it will change? Because now I think
with the current state, I don't believe that it will. Unfortunately, I hope that that Erdogan and AKP wakes up one day and understands that they also need to take concrete actions. Yet again, PKK took their responsibility and their promise to dismantle, but AKP hasn't taken their responsibilities at all for now. Rather, they are trying to attack Kurds in other parts of Kurdistan and other parts of the region, as in Syria, in Iran, and even, I would say, in Iraq.
Okay, thank you. And from your role and from a European perspective, what do you think is the role of Europe at this stage? What should Europe do?
Well, Europe did right when we froze the negotiations, as membership negotiations with Turkey, due to the lack of improvement, or I would even say the deterioration, because that's what led to the freezing. But of course, still, Europe is important for Turkey. Turkey is also important for Europe. Which means that there are relations there between the European Union and the member states, but in those cooperations the basis must always be the respect for international law, the democratic principles, the human rights principle. So whatever agreements that EU have with Turkey needs to contain also respect for those principles and demands on Turkey to respect those principles. So how we act, how we talk, and what we demand are very important. And for now, I would say that we have a very weak European Union who have this perception, and also member states, that EU and the member states are depending on Turkey, therefore we cannot be too hard. And I mean, if that's how it would be, that means that the whole role of European Union to promote democracy, human rights, international law, as it was built to do, is being undermined.
Yeah, reassess democratic conditionality
Yes.
to also migration partnerships probably. And okay, yes, it was very insightful. Thank you. I think these are my 4 questions, and you covered it really well. So yeah, it's a bit sad to hear this approach, but it's realistic, and yeah.
Thank you very much.
But we have hope.
Yes.
A bit. Okay,
We need to
thank
work,
you.
of course, together. I mean, maybe I can also add that an important step also in addition to the support or the demands, the actions on Turkey, is also the support to opposition, civil society organizations, and other actors who are working towards a fully democratic Turkey, and that is also inclusive.
And that's what Europe should also support.
Yes.
Okay, yes. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.